Welcome back to another episode of That's Business. Today's guest, Wil Black, is someone I've known for honestly probably about 10 years now, funny enough. So,
wow. Okay.
I know, crazy to think about, right?
Yeah.
Wil and I met at a bar he used to work at, and we just vibed. And I'm so pumped to have this conversation because I was at a completely different place in life, not working for myself, no podcast. You've blown up and have been doing incredible things with Black Gypsy music. So before we dive into your musical background and everything that you've done that I'm just like so proud of you for and kick-ass that you are.
Thank you.
Did you always know you wanted to go into music growing up, or what was your childhood like, if you feel comfortable sharing?
Always knew I wanted to go into music. There was never a doubt. When I think back on it, any times that I've had doubts, it was because of other people saying that that's just not what you should do. But I always knew I wanted to do music. My father, who passed when I was 7,
wow,
was heavy into music and a producer, promoter. Back in the 70s, during his time, he had bands and different things. So always around music, always around instruments, playing drums before I could talk.
Awesome.
Music is a huge part of who I am.
That's awesome. And were you always down the musical route in some way, shape, or form? Or was there, I hate to say like a pivotal moment when things change, but what was that journey kind of like through middle school, grade school, or high school, all that, early 20s, all that good stuff?
Well, it's interesting because initially I just wanted to be a drummer, you know, and you got to think I was born in the early 70s. Kind of old now, but I was born in the early 70s. It's just funny to think of. I don't feel old, but born in the early 70s. And I believe that art and music and technology are all related. So I feel that I was privileged to be born during that time of the funk era and, sort of the ending of the classic rock era and big bands and live shows. And this was before the internet and before computerized drums and programming and, all of that. So I was raised on that. But when I got into middle school and rap music started, that's when, the transition began. So I went from thinking or knowing that I was going to be a drummer, and that's what it was, to seeing rap music happen and seeing the change in how music was created and technology. And kind of just from that point on, the journey just kind of has taken many turns, but it's all seems to come back to something musical or audio related.
Nice. Now you do a lot of producing, I see, and you have your hand in 5 million different projects. I swear, every time I go on Facebook, you're doing something else badass. But tell us about the idea behind Black Gypsy music. What does that encompass? How'd you come up with the name and everything like that?
Okay. Black Gypsy music. Black being my last name, and gypsies. I did some research back in the day and realized that gypsies were free-spirited people, usually magicians, musicians, and they traveled. Every place kind of seemed like their home. And I related to that definition immediately. Now you fast forward to now, gypsy is actually a derogatory term for Egyptians. So so it's interesting to see as you go technology. I found out about gypsies in an encyclopedia. Well, now you Google it and you see all kinds of things. So Black Gypsy music was really me being my last name Black, and then obviously I'm Black, but that's neither here nor there. It's more so about my last name and knowing that I feel I'm free-spirited and artistic. And as far as the many things that I'm involved in, as a producer of music, I think that allows me to wear many different hats. I started off as an artist when I really got into actually recording. And at one point, my mother told me, it hurt my feelings, but she told me, she said, you ever thought about writing and making songs for other people because you don't sing as good as your dad did?
Rude, Mom.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. This was middle school. Yeah. And I mean, let all of my friends and the people who saw me in talent shows and things tell it. I thought I was amazing. But my mother telling me that just totally ruined my confidence as far as my voice, and led me into being more of the behind the scenes person as far as creating music, working with artists, and bringing the best out of who they are. And I like that part because a lot of these artists they become my voice.
Yes.
Their vocals become instruments to me. And as a producer, I'm able to, almost like a director, you're bringing it all together to make a beautiful ensemble, so that's what I love about it. So that's why you see my hands in many things, because I can do a hip hop project. I can work on an R&B project. I can do a techno project with a techno artist. I'm currently doing audio and scoring a weekly podcast that's more like a documentary type thing. So I get to do so many, different things, and it's all pertaining to music. So it's never boring and always challenging.
Oh my gosh. Now, are there certain projects that are your favorite over others, or others that you don't like to do?
The projects that are my favorite are the ones where I have full control.
Yeah.
Over the years, what I've started to do is I realized that as a producer, a lot of times after the music part of things are done, I'm out of the loop. It's like, hey, I'm recording the sessions, or I'm creating music, or working with the artist. And when it's done, it's done. And then whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And then in other cases, maybe the artist, maybe some of the direction that I wanted to go in was something that the artist didn't want to do. So what I started to do was I started to release projects under my name as a producer, but I'm being the artist and I'm collaborating with other artists. So they come in the studio, we work on something, and usually once they've laid their vocals, they're out of the loop. And I'm able to, maybe bring in maybe a guitarist or another vocalist, or switch this lyric up here. And I have total creative control. And that's when I usually have the most fun, because I like to go in different directions and I like to imagine the artist in different places. Because I think we all see ourselves in one way, like how my mother saw me as a singer. I should say how my mother didn't see me as a singer. And
Right.
I'm thinking like, hey, so I think I have a gift in being able to listen to what other people are saying and be aware of it. But over the years, I've gotten to a point of having confidence to know that sometimes I'm going to take my own chances and do some different things and maybe think out of the box a bit. And that's what I'm able to do on the projects that I release under my own name.
Nice. A lot of people, I feel, don't really understand what goes into a good song, a good video, and all kind of the logistics behind it. So from your creative perspective, without giving away all the secret sauce there, what makes for a good song, good video, or where do you kind of approach things a little differently?
I think there's so many aspects to making a great song. First off, a great song is a matter of opinion. So,
Right.
There is that part. There are different formulas that work as far as pop music goes, or appealing to a broad audience. But as far as my creative process, I like to be free. It's very important for me to feel a part of or understand the artist And what's interesting is now we're in a time where a lot of stuff is cut and paste. And I mean, it's just society, fast food, and music has become that way as well. I work on songs with people that I've never met in person.
Wild.
Or I've never seen them, And as I say, I come from the old school where we had to be in the studio together. So now what's happening is there's a lot of just producers in a room making a bunch of music and then posting it online, and then artists being able to siphon through all of these different instrumentals and then, hey, I like that, and then write lyrics to it, and then they go somewhere and record it. Those work. And a lot of the songs that we hear today are those. But then you have those special songs or those special artists or those special moments where the artists took their time and they worked with producers and engineers who they've built a relationship with. Like you're in the studio and we kick the shit for a minute. We eat some food. Maybe we have a session and we didn't even record because you were talking about your day and you got caught up in something that happened with your kids. But I believe that all of that goes into making a great song. It's like cooking a great meal. You can buy, Hamburger Helper, and I mean, Hamburger Helper is good. I like it. You can go to a restaurant and pay top dollar for an amazing meal from a reputable restaurant, right? But there's something about that home cooked meal that took some time in the kitchen. And, during Thanksgiving, you're sitting with your grandmother and and the kids are running around and, you made that sauce the day before and it's set.
Yes.
So that's how I like to create. I'm at my best when we have time, or when time doesn't matter, when we're thinking outside of the box or we're not thinking at all. And when it feels right. And I feel like when it feels right, you just know. And sometimes that happens in 30 minutes, and sometimes it may take a few years or several hours. You just never know.
Well, and that's such a great point to bring up, because as someone who does live kind of a fast life or go, 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 and something I've been working on personally is like, slow down. No, like sit down, have a meal, home cooked meal, things like that. It's so important to your point of, yes, there's the copy and paste and you could do that, but it's really, I feel, just like the connection piece, or sit down and try to understand someone. That's what brings up. I mean, I've had a ton of great ideas. This idea, few drinks were involved with the idea for this podcast. So I think we're so, go, go, go that what's the Ferris Bueller quote I love? It's like, life moves by too fast. If you don't sit down, take a minute, or it'll run past you. And I'm totally butchering that, but it's so true. Something I want to talk about too on that note, you have the best posts on Facebook. Some people argue with you of just like, you have been truly someone that gives advice before it was the cool hip thing to do. But why has that been such an important part of you? And just for context for those listening, Wil gives the advice like you're your own worst enemy, and you really should have like a t-shirt line or inspirational text every day, I swear. It's just been something I've enjoyed really looking at every day, or sometimes it's a little too real that I'm like, okay, I'm feeling personally called out today. But what's made you prioritize that for your image and what you kind of put out there to people?
I've been a fuck up.
I like the realness. Tell us.
I mean, that's usually the things that I'm saying. I'm sharing what I may be going through, what I've gone through, or what I'm realizing. And it's funny that you say that, because I don't post as many as I used to. But I mean, that's really it. Like, I have been a fuck up, and I'm the person that did everything backwards. Left home at an early age, had kids young, wasn't the best father young, spent a lot of years regretting a lot of things, thinking it's too late. I've already fucked it up. There's no reason in trying to fix it now. And then I think with experience, you just start to realize that first off, it's never too late. And you never get to a point where you figure it out.
Right.
And I think when you figure out that you're never going to figure it out, that's when you figure it out. You know, it's all a learning process. So it's like, there's been so many times in my life where I thought, like, this is it. I've just fucked it all up. And it didn't happen. So that's what inspires that, is that I've messed up, and it's stuff that maybe someone told me, or maybe I woke up that morning and I just had a way of where it made sense. And I just want to share it because I believe that that's what life is all about, is about sharing our experiences. You know, they say the Bible is the greatest book in the world or ever created. But all the Bible is a bunch of people that wrote down their experiences. That's really what it is.
Yep.
It's spiritual and all, you know, but it's really just people that wrote down their experiences. This shit happened to me and don't do this, or because, you know, and it's the same thing.
And it's interesting too, because I feel there's so many people that just live in that, oh, I fucked it up, I can't ever recover from that. But having that change in mindset and coming through to that, because there are a lot of people that just, you know, go through life being miserable, die miserable, and just like, oh, well, I fucked it up, I can't fix it. So I love that mentality, because we're all trying to figure it out. To your point, like, we're all trying to figure it out. Nobody has it figured out. If I've learned anything, nobody has it figured out, and nobody's perfect too. So with that and that kind of mindset, how does that influence your creativity with your business, with how you act with clients, with the kiddos, with your partner, and everything like that?
I try to put myself in the other person's shoes as often as possible, probably to a fault at times. And I'm learning balance even with that. But, you know, even in politics, it's like, you got to remember that the people that have opposing views to your own views feel just as passionate about their views as you do about yours. Let's take right or wrong out of the equation. They feel passionate about their point of view. So we should start there with that respect. And it's easy to forget because most of us are only thinking about ourselves most of the time. Not in a selfish way, but just in a, hey, you're in a rush to go to work and this person in front of you is doing the speed limit. You're pissed because they're doing the speed limit. They're actually just doing what they're supposed to do. So I try to just remember that in everything that I'm doing. With my clients, I have to remember that, first off, in all situations, I asked for this, you know, and we forget that. I asked for this. This is what I wanted to do. So when I'm in the studio with a client who's asking me to do something that I don't agree with, that I think is not the best decision for the song, and I'm annoyed with how it's going, and there's, over the years, I was known to be an asshole. And I'm sure you've seen me back in the bar days when I was an asshole. And I could still be that way. But in that moment, I'm only thinking about myself. I'm not thinking about, hey, all this person wants is to create a great song or fulfill their dream. That's it. And this is their art, their creation. Every horrible song you've ever heard in your life, you better believe that those guys were in the studio, or those young ladies or those people were in the studio playing it loud. They played it over and over for weeks when it was finished. They thought they had created the best thing ever, and they could not wait for the world to hear it. I'm a part of that thousands of times, okay? And I have to respect that, even if I don't think it's good. Sometimes it's not, you know. My job is to make it as best as I possibly can and put all of the care into it that I feel that they've put into it. And if I keep those things in mind and remember, hey, Sometimes a person, you go to McDonald's and you get horrible service. You're pissed, but you just wanted a burger. It's like, dude, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. I just wanted a burger. You asked to work at McDonald's. I didn't ask you to work at McDonald's.
Right. You asked for it. And that's great. That's such a great reminder, too, on those tough days of especially being entrepreneurs is like, I just want to wring your neck. Like, please. But it's very interesting. And it's a completely different mindset because I am guilty of running late and getting pissed in traffic and all of the above, feeling called out again, Will. But it's so true. You asked for it. You're running late. You asked to be late. Like, what are you going to do there? So,
yeah.
And especially back to your point on politics too, someone had said this to me. They're like, we are so quick to be defensive of like, we're right and having to prove ourselves that we get away from the whole, like, let's just have a conversation and see each other's perspectives. And I think that's oftentimes gone, but you're giving people even just like another voice through song, through these projects and in different capacities, because some people express themselves different ways. So such a great point. Now, whatever you want to share, don't want to share, but what things are you working on this year in the near future that we could look forward to?
Well, personal projects, I don't know.
I love that answer. Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny, and I know I trust my energy and I know I'm at a place where I need to do a personal project. One of the I don't want to call it a downside, but one of the challenges, I'll say, with doing something that you love and making it a way to make money is you still have to make money. So 90% of the things that I do now are not as creative as I would want to be. I'm not doing them for myself, So I'm really looking forward to working on a project. A couple years ago, I started a series called The 48. It's where I would link up with different artists, singers, rappers, jazz musicians, rock musicians. I did a little bit of everything. And we'd get in the studio and just create something, and I'd have 48 hours to release it live. And the goal of it was for me to be in situations where I had to produce and it wasn't just work and I couldn't overthink it. So it was like a workout.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this is what we came up with. This is where we're at. 48 hours later, drop it. But in the process of doing that, it really turned out into a project where I think I stopped at 33 songs, and I worked with over 50 different artists during that period of time. So I've been thinking I want to do that again just to get the creative juices going. But other than that, it's been a lot of mixing, mastering, and producing for other artists. And I love doing that because my motto is every session is a lesson. So it's like, hey, someone wants me to do something I don't know how to do. I'll figure it out. Hey, we could Google it. We can whatever. I may take a deep, long breath because that's usually my sign of annoyance. Like, okay. But I remember, and that's just when I tell myself, dude, you asked to do this. You could be somewhere behind somebody's bar bartending again or on someone else's schedule, managing a bar. It's like you asked to do this. And then it snaps me right back into gear every time.
You were just rolling with so many great things. Now, I'm excited to see because I really enjoyed that project you did. So to see what you decide. But Will, as we wrap this up, what advice do you have for listeners? My extremely loaded question I ask everyone.
Yeah, because that's a lot. My advice to listeners would be open. Say yes to more. One of the things I regret in life is not taking more chances. Don't overthink, but just say yes to more things and just be open to listening to different points of views. I learned more by listening to other points of views and not just listening to mirroring images or voices and things to confirm the bullshit that I think I believe anyway, you know? So say yes to more and be open. Different political views, different religious views. You don't have to agree, but just be open and respectful and listen.
Respectful. That's the key. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this, you want to connect with Wil, see what projects he's got going on, head to the show notes and tune in again next week for another episode of That's Business.
If you're looking for a career change and you're not sure where to start, the Resume Rescue can help. Sure, there's no such thing as the perfect fit for everyone, but here at the Resume Rescue, we're on a mission to find the perfect solution for you. Whether it's changing careers, updating a resume, learning LinkedIn, or practicing interviewing, we have you covered. Find us online at theresumerescue.com and find all of our contact info in our show notes.